to Coffee and Chaos. I'm Alina, your host, and I'm going to call it the hot spot or the hot chair. Or what do I call it? Solomon?
Hot seat.
Hot seat. There you go.
Yeah, don't call it the hot spot.
Uh-oh.
Well, why do you?
Because she has enough hot spots, right?
Yeah, she does.
I don't have my fan.
I hope she only has one hot spot, but you know,
I don't
whatever.
have my fan. It's always hot.
Yeah.
Trina's in the hot seat today.
Talofa.
And we have, wait, Solomon, how are you?
I am great.
I feel like we haven't seen you in a while.
And I'm surprised to see you guys this early in the morning. Usually come at night. So it's like, for everybody who knows, we're recording today at like 10:30. So I'm like, what? These lazy people don't have work today? What's the deal?
No, the good Lord said, get your booty up. Get
There you
going. And today we have our friend David Samperio.
There
How
he
are
is.
you?
Hey, good morning. Sorry to wake you up so early, Solomon.
Oh, no. I would have been here anyway. Trust me.
David's a local, he's one of our local longshoremen, one of our local Pedro guys.
Born and raised.
He's a huge part of our community. I personally am in debt to him for life.
Oh, interesting story then.
When we're going to
Yes.
tell you that story, but we brought him on today. We're going to get down in some biblical men's. You do, what do you call it?
I call it coffee, men, and God. Yeah.
See, not chaos. Notice?
Yes.
Men don't have chaos.
Men do have chaos. It's called
Men
women.
are chaos. No, men make us crazy.
I'll be honest. I tell my wife all the time, and even my ex-wife, I used to be, I still can be, a drama king.
Ooh.
But I'm better.
Oh, I was going to say
Thank
not
God
anymore.
for owning it.
Listen, I know who I am. Oh, yeah.
He's a recovering.
Women
God has
crazy.
revealed this is who you are. We need to change you a little bit. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Big
Because
time.
I say, yeah, where's the cheer button or the clap button or the.
Yes, Brother David.
Yeah. Because we're crazy, but you guys make us crazy.
We can, yes. We certainly, it's, like I said,
I'm not.
there are some there are some men who are just very calm and don't, and
Yeah.
they're very,
But then that'll drive us crazy that you're calm.
But I'm learning to be a mix of when it's time, when it's not. But before, like I said, my ex will tell you, and Gina will tell you, my wife now, that drama king, drama king. Yeah,
Again, thank you for owning it.
yeah.
We're going to tell a story of kind of we've known each other, we've seen each other around
Yeah,
and all
some
that.
family,
Yeah,
things like
but
that.
our
yeah.
first real interaction it's well over 6 years ago
Mhm.
now.
Mhm.
My grandma, who I take care of, who lives with me, has Alzheimer's, dementia, full blown everything today.
Yeah.
But 6 years ago was where like the onset of it coming on. She decided one day to wake up and just leave her house and take off and just want to do her thing, right? She wasn't going to wait for anybody. And we all day long looked for her. I think we even put something out on Facebook after a few hours because has anybody seen her? We couldn't find her. I hadn't cried yet. I was very stable. I was shocked at how calm I was. Even my daughter was shocked at how calm I was.
Yeah.
We were searching alleys and checking everywhere. I mean, and this was a whole day event.
Right.
Can I ask 2 context questions really quick?
Yes.
So at that time, was she living with you?
No. She was on her own in her own house still.
Okay. And then second, did you know that it was full on dementia? Or was this like,
No, that's why I
you were
said
just
it was the
discovering
onset. It was like the onset. Like we were starting to realize it was something, but we
Okay,
still didn't
okay.
really know what, right?
got it.
And think about it. 6-7 years ago, people still weren't talking about mental health like they are
As
today.
much now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And people, you kind of hid all that, and people would say, oh, they're just senile or all that. We didn't really know what it was. It's more out today than ever before.
Okay. Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. So she was missing literally 3/4 of the day. And then we got a phone call that she was at Kaiser. Well, how did she get to Kaiser?
Yeah.
Well, David, how did she get to Kaiser?
So, a little backstory before getting to your grandmother is, I was driving around doing stuff again with my wife. Like I was telling her I'm just doing things. I wasn't supposed to be doing the things I was doing, which is driving around and just doing stuff.
Well, you were supposed to go to work that day, right?
Supposed to go to work, double back.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm a night sider. So that's why Solomon, that's why we're up early, because I work nights normally. So
Okay. What's double back really quick?
double back is just another shift, working the day shift. I work the night shift and working a double
Extra
back
shift.
is
Oh, wow.
another shift, day shift.
Got it. Okay.
But I decided not to.
And your wife was upset with you, correct?
She wasn't happy. I'm going to say that. I don't know. But anyways,
She's like, don't make that money.
which again, and thank God for her job because she stays at home and
Yeah.
works harder than I do at home. So, and
Wait, what? She what?
works
Yeah,
harder than I do.
I
Hey,
heard
listen,
that, yes.
she works harder.
Let's
than I
just
do.
breeze
She
right
said-
over that.
But
I'll
do you stay
admit it.
home?
Ooh, Trina just called some shots.
Oh, no.
But okay.
And so I was just doing some things, and I don't normally go up 7th Street by Mary Star, and I'm going to go up there because I usually go to First, and I can park on Weymouth. I live on Weymouth, and it's easier to park here. I got to make a U-turn. It's a pain in the butt. So but I go up 7th, right across the street from Mary Star, and I see an older lady fall. And so I pull over, and I'm helping her up, and are you okay? And you know, my grandmother who had passed before that, she again reminds me of older
Yeah.
ladies, right? So I'm just being helpful. Are you okay? And this and that, and yes, and you know, do you want me to take you home? Where do you live? And she's like very insistent. No, I don't want to go home.
Hell no. She's running from home. Don't take her home. That's the last thing.
And
she
please don't
wants to
take me
do.
home.
Right. So, and so anyway, she had fallen just, you know, when you park somewhere and it's got a little, so she fell, she tripped. And so helped her up. I said, well, you know, where can I take you? Take me to Kaiser. She was insistent on that. Don't take me home. Take me to Kaiser.
Oh, she specifically
Oh,
said
take
Kaiser?
me to, because I said, what hospital? She goes, Kaiser, because I was thinking, you know, Little Company of Mary.
Yeah.
Oh, she's like, no,
Kaiser.
definitely
She
don't
knew
take me
exactly.
to
Kaiser.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I mean, it's fine. And so I helped her in and my truck.
Weren't you a little like, I have this lady in the car. I don't know what's going on. Like, she wants to go to Kaiser. Like,
What's she going to do to him?
I'll be
no,
honest.
not like that. But just most people would just help her up, sit her down, and go on their
Or
day.
call the police.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and you
Yeah.
know what? I think because when I asked her right away, and she says, "I don't want to go home to Kaiser." She was just, I mean, that was pretty quick into the conversation, and I'm like, okay, no. To me, it's like, again, reminding me of my grandmother. And
Yeah.
like, what would I do? What would I
Yeah.
want someone to do for my family?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay. Again, I didn't work,
Yeah.
so let me.
I'm working now.
So maybe this is why. So
God
yeah,
knew what he needed
He
you
knew.
for.
No,
Yeah.
honestly. So yeah, give him all the glory. So I got her in. So okay, and we're going, and she's looking for I think like her ID and whatever.
Yeah.
And again, I didn't know she had the onset dementia. So we started talking, and then she started talking about her family,
Her brothers and
her
stuff,
brothers, and I'm thinking, well, I know your family, I know the Castaneda, I mean, just all this stuff, and again, having a conversation, I would have
Yeah.
never known. So we finally get there, and I walk her out, and she's still looking for her ID, and I guess she didn't have it. But we're looking, and I'm telling the people that are admitting, like, I don't, like, she fell, and I don't know, and I didn't have anybody's number.
Yeah.
So I stayed there for a little bit, maybe 10, 15, 20 minutes, and then it's like, okay, well, I better go to work at night because now my wife's really going to get upset if I.
Because this was earlier too, and
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I'm thinking lunchtime.
okay,
Or
yeah.
somewhere
And
around
she had been
there.
missing since like 8:00 that morning. I think.
Yeah, so it was right about that time, and so, and I just like, here's my number. I give if something happens or someone doesn't
Yeah.
respond or something, and okay, and then I didn't hear anything, and I believe we had a. I'm thinking you called me when I was at a union meeting.
So
Or maybe the
we
next day or
didn't
something.
even know till later in the day that
Okay.
she would have been at Kaiser.
Okay.
So while that happened and you had her at Kaiser, we were still searching
Looking.
everywhere. And then I finally told my aunts and my mom, like, we need to put a picture of her on Facebook.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
and they were kind of hesitant at first, and I get it. Nobody, wants that kind of business out there. But I was like, somebody had to have seen her.
Yeah.
Right.
This is what Facebook is for. And in
Yes.
our town in San Pedro, I know it's a city, but it's still a town to me.
Right.
Like,
Right.
we all know each other. So
Yeah.
someone had to have seen her. And sure enough, we put it up. And then within an hour, we get a phone call that she got dropped off at Kaiser.
Yeah.
And so,
Now, was this somebody who saw you drop her off, or was this somebody from Kaiser?
Well, I think someone
somebody
took a
saw
picture
it.
of me actually helping her, and said something on Facebook like, "Oh, what a kind person," whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. And then when you guys put that up, and I
I think
believe
your
my
wife. Yeah.
my wife reached out to me because I had told her, and she's like, "Oh, and is this the person?" I'm like, "Oh yeah."
Yeah.
Send me the picture. Like, yeah, this is.
Yeah.
And I didn't think of anything else. I'm just thankful that
She was there.
everything was,
Yeah.
handled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I reached out. Yeah, she's at Kaiser. And I hauled ass to Kaiser. And mind you, I was still strong. Like,
Right.
she's safe. She's fine. No tears. And it was literally the minute I saw her, the floodgates of just
They're
pure.
releasing it. Yeah.
And she goes, Mija, why are you crying? I was like, oh dear God, this woman. Oh dear God, this woman. But that's when I realized like she doesn't even realize or know what
What's going on.
happened or anything. And the nurse started crying. The security guy was like, oh my God. Like, but they finally, it clicked into them. Like, she's been missing.
Yeah.
Like I said, she was missing all day long. So I got her in the car and the whole way home, she's like, can we stop at McDonald's? I think I'm
Come on.
hungry. And I was like, I just looked at her like a teenage kid that you just dragged home, you know, and you want to spank. And I'm like,
And I think if I would have had any inclination that there was something,
Yeah.
but it was conversation, and she's talking about her family, and we're talking about, you know, how I know that, all this stuff, and she's, you know, again, from the get-go, I don't want to go home, I want to go to Kaiser. It's like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so I would have never have known until after.
well, you were our angel here on earth.
Yeah.
And that day really opened our eyes to how to handle her and what's going on and stuff like that. So, and now she's with me. So now we're safe.
Yeah.
She's good.
Did you know then? Well, were you thinking then that, you know, this is a God thing? Like you said, oh, I was thinking if this was my grandma, what would I want someone to do? Or, I mean, was it afterwards that you realized like, oh my gosh, I didn't go to work for a reason.
God put
Oh
me
no,
in
I
this
think from the
place.
get-go. And then when I, you know, told Gina, my wife,
Yeah.
you know what? I think this is why.
So you
Yeah.
can't be mad at me, Gina.
I was just saying,
You know what, Gina?
hold on.
He's like, wait a minute, Gina, there's an explanation.
Yeah, but I think also when she sent the picture, she probably figured, oh wait, this is the person. Blah, blah,
Yeah,
blah. So
he
I
really
think-
wasn't just driving around.
Yeah, yeah, right. Yeah, I was on a mission.
You had a purpose.
Yeah.
I had a
Yes.
mission that he gave me. So
A
yeah,
mission
so no,
we didn't even know about.
at the time I was just thinking, okay, no, this is you know why
Yeah.
things happen.
And it really goes to show the humanity we still have and good
Yeah.
people here because, you know, you see a lot of it could have went a million different ways,
It could
right?
have, yeah.
And you were there for a reason.
Mhm.
Because I literally right before that stop on, you know, right where Mary Star, she was here, and I saw on the side her fall. I saw her walking. I mean, you know where you see her, but you don't see. Like,
yeah.
But I saw that part,
Yeah.
and that's when I stopped and pulled over. And so, yeah, if a little bit more, I wouldn't
Would
have
have
seen her.
seen it. Yeah.
You
I
know,
wouldn't
and
have seen
that's sort of crazy too, because like especially in California, a lot of times people see something like that and they go, "Oh, I'm not going to mess with that," because you pick her up next,
You
you know, the
never
family's
know,
trying
yeah.
to sue you or something like that for hurting her, and it just shows that there's still some kindness. And it reminds me, I heard on a podcast where a guy who lived in New York and L.A. he was describing the difference between nice and kind. He said people in L.A. are nice, but they're not kind. Like
Yeah.
they'll say hi to you.
Yeah.
But then if they see you on the street, they will walk right over you.
Yeah.
He said people in New York are not nice. They'll tell you, get out of here, move out of the way, blah, blah, blah. But if they see you fall, you got 5 people running towards you going, you all right? You know, can I help? Can I take care of you? Whatever. And so I just thought that was a really cool thing. I never forgot that.
Yeah.
Oh, we have nice and kind over here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, God put me in the right place, in the right time, and
Yeah.
And
all
speaking
that
about that, you're on fire for the Lord.
you know what? I'm trying my best to do the things that He says to do, to submit to His will, because we're men and women can be stubborn.
No.
Uh,
I'm not
I'm
stubborn.
going to
I
say
feel
both.
like you
I'm
heard our
totally
conversation
not
in the car on the way
I'm
here.
going to say both, but yeah, and I think for myself, just doing my own thing when I want to do it, and again, I'm still a work in progress, but more so to say, okay, what do you want? What do you need?
Mhm.
And then relying on Him to give me the strength, the vision, all these other things. But yeah, I'm trying my best.
So, Coffee Men and God.
Coffee Men and God.
When do you have coffee? What is Coffee Men and God?
So with my church, being with my wife, the co-coordinators of life groups, doing life together outside of the building of a church, because the church is wherever we're at. And so just
Amen to that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
a lot of people have lost, and I will say I'm one of them, have lost faith in the structure of the building
Mhm.
that represents church.
Right.
And over the years, I've always been torn with that because I'm always going to be church. Church is
Mhm.
always going to be here,
Yeah.
but I've lost faith in the structure of the building.
Yeah.
And I
And-
think a lot of people have.
Yeah, and it says in Acts that the gathering of the disciples. So does it say the gathering at this building, at this temple? Is that it's just a gathering? So wherever 2 or more are gathered, God's there, and so that's His church.
Mhm.
So, but outside the walls of us going to a Sunday, to a place. So it's been a couple of months. I say about 3-4 months, and just to get together and build relationships. As we probably all know that men are a little bit more introverted. They won't share as much. Women will for the most part. We'll talk about everything, anywhere, go to the restroom together. And
Overshare.
And I don't even know if it's overshare, but it is sharing a lot. I'll say that. And so with men, it's just a little bit more. I likened it to being, men can be a lone wolf, and to handle it, I don't need help. I can do this, and the struggles and successes. Successes are a little easier to get out there. Like, hey, look at me, right?
Yeah.
But the struggles. So, and I just think with men, and it's been on my heart for a while, my old church and things like that. But to get together in just an environment, right now we're still building relationships. We don't have a study yet. We don't have things, but we're just building relationships. And so it's the first and third Saturday of the month, and it's 8 a.m. at Sirens, Java and Coffee.
And
Java and
South
Tea. I'm sorry, Java and Tea.
Java
Yeah.
and tea.
Over on 7th and Mesa.
And it's for an hour?
Roughly.
Okay.
We went a little over. We had about an hour and 45. It's just whoever starts ready to go, okay. And people, when I left, guys were still talking outside. And so we're sharing. We're building relationship. And I think men do have a voice,
Yeah.
but a safe place, amongst men, and not to be judged and things like that. So
Do you have any age limit on it?
no.
No,
I think
girl.
our youngest, yeah.
I just asked.
No. I
Like-
think
My
our-
husband goes.
yeah.
No, I didn't mean old, like older. I meant like if an 18-year-old or 20-year-old,
I think
it's
it's even better if we have people in
Yeah.
the 70s and people in 18 because we're men. And I think an older, for myself, I'm 54. I'm still young.
Oh, you're very young.
Yeah. And but to share the knowledge of what we have, whether it's successes or hey, be aware, I see you going down this path. The younger.
Yeah.
And then also, just because we're older doesn't mean that we're all that yet.
Doesn't mean
So we
you're-
can learn from
yeah.
Here's some cool things. Sometimes younger, especially younger to a faith, they're excited.
Yeah.
And sometimes as we're older, we need a little bit of that. Oh, this guy's on fire. This
That
guy's
vibrant.
Yeah,
Like they're vibrant.
The
Yeah.
young, and because
You don't get
that
lost.
energy.
right,
Kind of like
energy,
regroup.
energy.
Yeah.
So I think we feed off each other. So to me, there's no, not at all.
Yeah.
Do you think that the younger generation is is more lost today? We kind of spoke on this
A little bit. Yeah.
with social media and everything like that. The older generation, they didn't have phones.
Right.
They didn't have dating apps. They
Right.
didn't have all of those things that can distract them, can lead them to stray,
Mhm.
right? Not just from their spouses or their girlfriends, but from God too.
Right.
Right? They didn't have all these sites that you can go on and different things like that. But now this younger generation deals with all of this.
Right.
And it's hard to focus on God. It's hard to focus on one woman or focus on really anything when you have all this distractions. Do you see any of that?
I do. And I think, being old enough to where I remember there was no phones, there was no things like that. We're outside playing, we're interacting and talking and doing stuff one-on-one. And then seeing where the phones came and the social media. And so I can see both sides. Like we talked before, I think men being absent from the home, fathers, plays a big role. Because that distraction of social media, if there's not structures, again, I'm saying strong single mothers, right? But there's something, like we spoke about, something about a man's voice,
What
man's
did you
authority.
say about your dad?
My dad's 86. He's going to be 86 this month. And I'm 54. I've been bigger than my dad since I was maybe second, third grade. He's about 5'1", 5'2". No, literally 145
Yeah.
pounds. I've been bigger than him and me and my brothers. He says my name a little too, David.
Yeah.
Because there's respect, but
That
back then
authority.
it was fear
Yeah.
because he's little man, but he's very strong,
mighty.
very strong. So, do I think that plays into it? Yes, because now they're getting all their information and things from social media and from other places, and yes, it's a distraction.
That makes a good point.
And I think that's one thing. Is it a distraction? Yes, even for myself. Sometimes like you wake up and let me pray first. Let me put him first because we tend to, what's going on. So it's a distraction.
Yeah.
And I think it's even easier for a younger generation because, again, I didn't grow up with phones and social media. They did
Yeah. Some of them don't even leave the house.
because of that.
And and Trina knows, like Solomon, just so to inform you, in our little quote unquote town, we'd walked everywhere.
Everywhere.
We were never home.
Right.
I'll meet you halfway here. I'll meet you halfway
Yes.
there. We were out all day Saturday,
Yes.
went home for an hour or two to either make parents happy or change, and then out for the night, right?
Mhm.
These kids today, Why leave the house?
You got everything.
They even have food ordered and dropped off.
Thank you. Yes.
So it's
They'll have drinks. They'll have Starbucks.
just delivered. Yeah.
So you had delivered? It's different. It's a
First of
different
all,
rule.
Yeah.
we weren't even allowed to think about ordering
Thank you.
Starbucks as a kid if it was there, right?
I remember I was the remote control. My
Yes.
brothers, because they didn't have remote controls. So my pops, go change it. You have to get up and change it and do this. So
the antennas. You had to,
thank you, right? We were those things. And nowadays it's like so easy. You stay at home and everything's done for you.
Well, David, I have a question.
Yeah.
So I know when you created this thing, you obviously had the vision of what you thought it would be. How has that changed when guys are actually meeting? And then on top of that, like what percentage of the conversations that you've seen are more about God and more about men living their lives and dealing with issues in life?
So I think, well, the last question, I'd say it's about 50-50 right now. Like I
Okay.
said, we haven't had a study. You know, I Pastor Obed, I go to Destiny Church, actually I'm wearing the shirt that 21 years, to have a study. So right now we're building relationships. So I think right now we talk about our life. Is God there? Yes. We talk about God. We end with a prayer. I think it's kind of cool. We have about 9-10 guys. You go into Sirens, our heads are down and someone's praying. Yolanda, who's the owner of Sirens, and like, pray for us, Dave, pray all the time. Of course, Yolanda. So I think that's, so right now it's about 50-50. And I think that as we get together, I'm not sure what the first question.
It was basically, how has it changed from what you thought it would be to what it actually is?
I think it's kind of spot on because I just think building relationships with men and having a place where they can talk, feel safe. We had a men's breakfast, which included, again, just whoever, men that we invited. And there was about 40 people at my house. It was a breakfast. It was 40 guys. There was about 9 different churches represented, a couple of pastors. And so we usually have some people go up and give a mini testimony. So I'm like, hey, you know what? This is a big group. I wasn't expecting 40. I'll be honest. I prayed for 36. And so...
and God made sure.
And God made sure a little bit more.
Yeah,
Right? He's always just giving a
yeah.
little bit more, right?
Yeah.
And so as I said, hey, you know what? Introduce your name and maybe what church you go to. That was a very simple instruction. And as it went around, people, I think men felt comfortable sharing a little bit more. We had some people that were kind of in tears and just emotional. And I just thought, wow,
Yeah.
this is kind of cool
Yeah.
because I think as people were sharing, as we got closer to the end, people were sharing a little bit more.
Yeah.
And then, so my thing is just to get together, share information, and reach out to when something's happening. Yeah.
Do you ever have anyone in the group that you have right now at Sirens? I won't say lost, that's not the word, but have you had someone who's maybe not as strong in their faith or kind of on the fence or?
I think we all have faith. I mean, I know there's totally different levels of whether length of time
Yeah.
or excitement.
Yeah.
We have some newer people. I would say we have about, the most we've had, I believe, is 10, 9, 8. It's been growing. But when we had the men's breakfast, we had 40. And it's all the different people who have come at different times.
Okay, got
So
it.
it's not really the same group. We have a couple core guys that come all the time. But I think that it's, I lost my train of thought.
So I guess my question would be
Yeah.
is like, if somebody sees this, right?
Yeah.
And there's whatever age he is like, I kind of want to learn. I'm
Oh.
kind of scared. Like he's going to get what he needs and not have to feel like, well, Dave St. Pierre is on fire for the Lord and everyone else is there. And I'm kind of, not that I'm not, but I don't know where I'm at in my faith.
Right. So at Destiny, and I think we can see probably biblical that God will meet us where we're at. And then we take steps from there. And that's something that Destiny Church we're a church of steps. And so for myself, in a group, just make people feel comfortable. We have iron sharpens iron, the ILW Iron Sharpens Iron Fellowship that we've been doing in the last 5 years. It's been in existence about 6 or 7, and we've been doing it about 5. So every Tuesday, I invite people to say, listen, you don't have to believe what we believe. Just come check it out if you have questions, because there's people are, they're questioning things. And what do you do and why? Or their faith. Come, sit in the back. I tell them, sit in the back, have a meal, say hi. You can leave before. It's not, because we can invite. Our job as disciples or as followers of Christ is to share the gospel, the good news, that God sent his son to die for our sins and we're forgiven for salvation. We share it. It's his job to stir the heart, because people can tell me anything.
Mhm.
You can't force me to do anything. But God has, in different areas, has stirred my heart and made me see, okay, so I can just invite, tell people, there's no pressure. No pressure at all. You
So
must sit.
no pressure to make you go to a certain church. Because
No,
like if
not
I
a
went,
church or not even to believe.
I don't go to church, but I do believe in God. I do
Yeah.
have a strong relationship with God.
and-
But
and the- Yeah, and the people that question, hey, okay, that's church. I think it's important to get together, fellowship. But does it have to be church? Sure. I mean, you say, yeah, church. But that's why our fellowship, which is longshoreman, it's at the Memorial Hall, is just come on by, and we'll let God do the work.
Yeah.
We're not doing the work.
Come
Because
as you are.
I think we all know that we have those people like, yeah, this and that, and they're
Yeah.
trying to convince us, and bless their heart. They want good. They want something right they see. But no.
Yeah.
No. If they ask questions, I'll answer them. And if they ask, I'll tell my story again, transparent, my award-winning word. But
yeah,
right? But yeah.
spelling bee champ.
That's right.
We're
Spelling
gonna get him a
champ.
shirt that says transparent.
Yeah.
We should.
But I think is you share a testimony
Mm-hmm.
and you let God do the work, and he'll put people in your life and he'll surround you with things when he wants. And can he convince you? No, he gave us free will. But like love, we can't force our spouse to love us the way he wants us to do it willingly.
Yeah, you can't force someone.
You
to
can't
love
force
you.
anybody. So I think even God, when he gave us free will he put things in our life to try to direct you to him? And absolutely.
Do you have a question, Trina?
Speaking on love,
Yes.
how do you, a kingdom-minded man, exemplify God's love in your industry where people don't necessarily always have grace?
Reflect.
Ooh, that's a beautiful
That's a
way
good
to put
one.
it. Yeah, the way she put it.
And I will say that it's difficult
Mhm.
at times because when we feel those, that backlash, or whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
ridicule or whatever
Yeah.
about my faith, I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, it's a little tough. But he just tells us to be the light, to be the salt of the earth. Because
Mhm.
in a world, when he says the world is full of darkness.
Yeah.
So when we do things that confound people, we do something different. Like you said, not too many people would go and help someone who's
Oh yeah.
okay. Or, spend time talking to men on the phone or texting, just things like that. Can be a little challenging, but that's part of again, Christ came and they crucified him. His disciples, I think other than one, they killed them all for their faith. Right. So, I mean, how much more?
And where was Christ when he was here? Because I think people forget that, right?
Mhm.
Where was Christ when he was here? He wasn't with all the bougie people.
No,
He wasn't with.
no, he was with the sinners and the prostitutes and the tax collectors
Yeah.
and that's where he said. And I think when we look at that example, and he said, go out to the world and proclaim the gospel. And so we have to go. I mentioned it not too long ago in the men's group. I don't think we should go to a strip club and try to convince the person on the pole, hey, come down. I don't know if he's talking about that, but to go to places, to reach out to people.
So back to Trina's
Things like that.
question, do you think that he's using you as that person in our industry? Because our industry isn't the healthiest, let's say.
Oh, he for sure.
I believe so.
Yeah.
He
I believe
for sure
so.
is.
I believe so. And I think you have Roman who's
Roman.
on the podcast.
Yes,
not
he's
too
been
long
on
ago.
here. Yeah, he's awesome.
And the people that we're doing, the people who are in leadership, there's Danny and Kevin and Pastor Horsham, all the people who are in leadership, especially, and I think they're all IDs now. We have Venus, who was one of the founding,
Mhm.
but she's been retired. And so they're all COD mentors. So
Awesome.
a COD, if people don't know in our industry, is child of deceased when someone passes, one of their children, yet get to work down here, which is
They
unheard
get to
of.
replace their job.
They get to replace, right.
Yeah.
So someone passed, and it was meant to support the family. They
Mhm.
come in, and that's what, so it's unheard of in other industries. But so they might be 18, 19, 20 years old, have no clue. And so when you go into an industry where, these cranes and ships and all this, it's very confusing. So
It's scary.
it's very scary.
If you think about when we came in 20-something
Right.
years ago, it was
Right.
half the amount of people,
Yes.
half the amount of outside truckers,
Yes.
half the amount of vessels. So it was scary for me at 23.
Back then.
But I look at it now and I'm like, some 18-year-old kid comes in, the noises, the
Wow.
everything,
Everything.
you're like this, you know.
Yes.
They
And there used to
need-
be a COD program back then, a while, and then there wasn't for a while. David Ross Jr., who's one of our union leadership, he's our business agent now.
He's a COD.
He was a COD. And so when he got involved a few years ago, they kind of started that program. Kim Solis, who's a big person in that, you know, doing that. And so now they vet the COD mentors, and it's someone that goes to them, you know, with them to work and shows them different things. So anyway, so our leadership at Iron Sharpens Iron. And so I think that, yes, I believe he's using that. And then myself, it's a platform, even here talking. It's a platform.
It's his platform.
It's his platform.
He's created. I tell people
to use us.
Yeah, when I started this, I had a vision, and Solomon will tell you, and I think it's
it was
changed
totally
a little
different.
bit. What'd you say?
It was totally different.
It was because I think he gave me in Spanish we say ganas, right?
Ganas, yes.
He gave me
What's ganas?
courage,
The will.
the
like,
will,
Yeah.
and
Fortitude.
and I had this idea, and he's like, no, I'm going to put you up there, and now we're going to change it, right? So it's definitely become a lot of pro men. I love my women. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes I just want to choke them out though, but it's pro men. And I want to make sure that if you ever watch a episode, you leave knowing we all have faith that if it wasn't for him,
right.
I know for me, I definitely would not be where I'm at.
I know
and none of us are perfect. We've talked about that, right? You know, we are sinners. We still sin, even though we try not to. Nobody's perfect, right?
Absolutely.
But that's why I asked you, where was Jesus when he was here?
Right.
Because he wasn't with the perfect people.
No.
And he was the only perfect person. And sometimes people forget that.
He actually, and I've mentioned this a few times when I talk to certain men and just in general, he was very critical of the people who thought they were perfect because they were hypocrites. So the Pharisees and the Sadducees, he would call them out because they thought that, oh, well, I do this. And they were puffed up.
Yeah.
And Jesus would say, no. And he would call them on their hypocrisy.
Yeah.
The other group that he would call is his disciples.
Mm-hmm.
He would tell them because they were not thinking or not doing the right thing. For instance, when they were asking, I think two of the brothers were like, who's going to be greater when we go there? He's like, wait, that's not. So he would discipline his disciples, but then he would also the people who thought they were perfect at the time.
When you say who's greater, there's a thing in the Bible. I don't know the exact word, so please.
I'm the same way. Yeah.
Yeah.
I Google a lot. Yeah.
But it says those who are first will be last.
Absolutely.
And those who are last will be first.
Yes.
Can you explain that to us?
Well, I'm going to use Jesus as an example. He said that he didn't come to be served. He came to serve. Mm-hmm. The greatest leaders, and again, the way I believe God structured it with men being a leader of his household is to be the greatest servant. And so the least, we have to take a backseat to our wives or our family. We got to serve them, make sure they're good. Same thing with our union. We have to serve our union. We know a lot of great people who in politics in our union that the greatest servants. Sometimes if you're in there with the wrong attitude, like what's in it for me, we kind of know some of those people too that right.
Yeah.
So I think when the least will be first, that's what he's saying. You have to be here, be like Christ and be a servant. What did Christ do? He taught us, he sacrificed for us, he did all these things. And ultimately he died for us. I mean, the greatest sacrifice, greatest servant. So I think that's what it means. We're supposed to be, and again, talking about men in their households.
Yeah.
We're supposed to, when they say kings, right? Well, what does a king do? Well, he serves. He provides provision, vision, protects. He's supposed to serve. That's the greatest leader.
Do you think that that's changed though in today's time? I would say that Mike's definitely the king in your household for sure. And I always say that.
Yeah.
But I think that as time has changed, I think a lot of men, and with all due respect, I'm the king. You need to do this. You need to serve me. You need to bow down. You need to. And I'm like, that's not what a king. King is what you just said, but it's changed in this modern society.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of factors, right? But you're right, and I think that that's the flesh part of us, especially men. That if I'm again the king, if I'm in charge, if I'm the head, you're going to do what I say. And you're going to do it my way. And I don't want to be questioned.
Yes.
And I'm going to spend money I want to because it's my money. And trust me, Gina knows, I've said that before too. It's my money. Oh no, it's actually his money,
Mm-hmm.
right? The one thing is, I don't, my big fat Greek wedding when the mom says, yeah, the men are the head of the house, but we're the neck. We can turn the head anytime, right?
I didn't
I
even
don't-
Wait,
Oh
you don't
no, yeah,
remember
my
that
big fat Greek
line?
wedding. Oh yeah, my big fat Greek wedding.
Oh,
I've watched that, and
yeah.
I don't think I remember that.
So-
Yeah.
when
Do you have homework?
I
when
do.
the-
I
You
do.
do.
When the daughter wants to go to college, remember that's a big
Right. And they wanted to
culture,
work in
right?
the restaurant.
And they're just talking about stuff, and the mom was like telling either the daughter or the aunt, whoever it was, to say, yeah, we got to. He's the head. He's the head of the household, but the women are the neck. We can turn the head wherever we want. So I do see that as, because like I said, with my wife, and she knows there's as much as sometimes she doesn't want to admit it because my wife is stubborn too. We're both.
You do realize she's going to watch
That's
this, right?
okay. She knows.
He
she
is
knows.
the reason how I met Gina.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
okay.
No, so
Yeah,
she's
she's
like,
like
like
my
I said,
sister.
she knows I have a ways to go, but at the same time, I know that my life is much better because of her, because of what she wants in her life, just the things. And there's a lot of things that I wouldn't have chosen for myself.
They say behind every strong man
Yeah,
is an amazing woman.
absolutely.
And I
believe it.
feel that the woman stands behind it. And you're right. I didn't know the neck thing, but kind of
Yeah.
like when you start to go left, she's like, no. Like, we're not doing that. Come back.
There's a lot of things that she knows that in our life, the last so many years, that I would not have chosen. My path was somewhere else. And which wasn't a forceful thing. And we're going to do, no, it was more just, I'll be honest, out of love of her and her wanting her to be happy.
Do you think it takes a lot of courage to admit everything you've just said? And now it's going to come out publicly that people are like, oh, Dave loves his wife. Oh, Dave, all this, because I maybe in our industry, maybe just amongst friends, I hear more of like, oh, my effing wife, or F that B, or like, oh God, I'm tired. Like, they think that sounds cool.
Yeah.
They think that's the thing to say, when in my head, I'm like, you sound so dumb. Like, men are not as courageous as you to be honest about who they are and say, hey, my wife holds it together. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be where I'm at. She pushes us to be better.
Yeah. And courageous, I'm not sure if it's courageous, but I just know that, first, I'm not perfect. I tell her too. I'm a work in progress. She knows I'm better than I was 5-6 years ago. I even told her, tell her all the time, my ex got the worst of it. Honestly, she did. And we made up afterwards. She passed almost 4 years ago.
I'm sorry.
But great relationship. We split young, but or we were together young, married young, and then after a while, my fault on why it ended. But we got together as co-parents and very friends.
Did you ever
good
apologize?
stuff. Oh, absolutely.
Really?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. I apologize, and I think that's where the change happened because God forgave me, and I had asked for forgiveness. She forgave me. I asked forgiveness from her parents and from my kids who were young at the time.
Oh.
To say I messed up.
Yeah.
And I think that's when the change happened. And then a little after that, her husband came, Joe, and then Gina came after that. And we had a great. Now, did we always see eye to eye? No, but it was a lot better. It
Yeah.
was more peaceful for the kids. And then
Yeah.
Joe had a daughter, and then they have a son, Joey, and then just all the stuff that happened. And we adopted a couple of kids, and it was a good family. It's a family.
Yeah.
We're still a family.
Mhm.
And so courageous, I don't know, but I just know, going back to my spelling word, transparent, is
By the way, I remembered my spelling word.
oh, okay.
What was your
was it?
spelling word?
The word I won was contradictory.
Oh, that was a good one.
Oh.
And I was
That's a-
going to say ARY, it was ORY.
Oh.
You're not.
See that?
We're not getting a T-shirt with contradictory. on it. We'll get you on a transparent.
Just for you that are listening, prior to us recording, we were talking about spelling bee contest in what,
Yes.
4th grade?
Fourth grade,
Fourth
yeah.
grade,
I was-
yeah.
Third, I believe. Third or fifth. I don't know.
Yeah.
Spelling bee kings.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
Well,
but
the funny part was our loser victors are still in our vicinity to this day.
Yes.
That's the point.
Yes. Yeah. But no, I think that in order for me to move forward, our relationship, things to be better, and we spoke about this before we were on, that we have to yield to him, and he's about truth, and he's about being transparent and being yourself and who he created us to be. And I think that lies is from the enemy.
Lies
And
are
so-
very much.
yeah. And again, I wish I can say that I don't ever lie. And it wasn't like it was before. It doesn't say there's not temptation. It doesn't say that there's not things. Yes, but it's just different, a lot different. And I give it all to him. that
Mhm.
He's changed my heart and how I see things.
Do you think that, because we've talked about this, Trina, just because we have faith, just because we believe, doesn't mean our life's going to be perfect.
Right.
Doesn't mean
No.
that our lives are going to be without heartbreak or sadness. Or I feel like the more faith we have, sometimes the more we go through.
Yeah.
I think it's the opposite is when we do believe and we live out our faith and we do things for Christ and we share His gospel. They say there's a bullseye on your back because Satan doesn't want that. He doesn't want good marriages
Mhm.
that are yielding to God. They don't want us to go to church, things like that. Like he
Yeah.
doesn't want that. So when
Mhm.
we do that and share, sometimes there's obstacles that are put in our life, and God allows them, but
Yeah.
as tests or whatever you want to call it. But sometimes
Do you think
it's
he's in
not just
full force right now?
that.
Meaning Satan, and he's going
I
after.
think so.
And I feel like he's going after. Maybe because my kids are 10 years apart, and my daughter's a little bit more stable, like because she's older, But like what my son went through, and I remember telling him one day, like, Devil and I are about to fight, and he's like, "What do you mean?" I said, "Oh, you have no idea. This is a fight. He came after you, and I don't know who he thought, but I might." And I said I might have been sleeping for a little while, and he thought he was comfortable, and he came in and attacked you, and
Mhm.
yeah, he's about to lose.
Yeah.
And he couldn't comprehend that because he kind of lost his faith for a little bit. But I literally told God, like, me and you, we got this. Like, I'm not losing my child, and I will fight the devil. And we did, and I did, and my son regained his faith, and he's good and all that. But he even said, he goes, "Mom, I'll never forget when you told me, like, oh, I'm about to fight the devil." And I thought, you're batshit crazy, basically.
Yeah.
Like, what does that even
Yeah.
mean? But I feel like he's in full force. I feel like he's attacking marriages. He's attacking kids. The younger, the better, right? But I really feel like these boys today that are becoming young men, that are turning into men, if I can get them young enough, then by the time they're a man,
Right.
I have them.
Right.
And that's why I'm so glad that you're doing what you're doing, because again, I'm not speaking for women, but we brought Dave on, so we're speaking
Yeah.
for men today.
Yeah.
You're here to help them.
Yeah.
You're here to show them any which way that they possibly can to God. Am I correct?
Right. And I think, what we've talked about this in leadership and in men's groups and things like that, that's part of our responsibility as followers of Christ is to yield to Him and what does He want. So going back to like the attack now more so, I think it's from the beginning when God said He made man, He made woman. That's an attack, and not to, but there's gender. He made two. Everything else, let's not. I'm going to go by what the Word says. Then He says to be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth, subdue it, have dominion over it. Well, what's the first thing He said? Well, multiply. We see nowadays that, I just had in my family a birth,
Congratulations.
unexpected birth, but
Congratulations.
thank you. But babies are a blessing,
Mhm.
and again, I'm not going to apologize, but and again, if people have made decisions before about not having a baby, well, babies are a blessing. I mean, we see that all the time. That there's an attack on the family from that get go.
It's crazy you say that, because I got pregnant at 16.
Yeah.
And my mom made me call my grandma that I'm taking care of now, her, and I was so deathly afraid, right?
Yeah.
Just how,
Yeah,
like,
it's
I
scary.
loved this man. I
Scary.
adored this man. And the first thing out of his mouth, he said, "Congratulations, mija." And I was
Yeah.
like, "What?"
Yeah.
He goes, "More the merrier. Children's are a blessing
It's-
from God."
it's-
And I was like, "What?" Like,
Were
so I'm not
you?
like, and he said, "But you will stay in school. You will, right?
Yeah.
That your
Yeah.
life's going to be different. Like everything."
Yes.
He goes, "But this baby is a baby from God."
Yes.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
And
Wow.
I look at her every day, and without my daughter, I would not be the woman that I am. He knew exactly,
Absolutely.
and we've said that too,
Yep.
right? Being young mothers,
Yep.
they really. I know a lot of people look like, "Oh my God, your life's over." My life was going to be over before I had my kid. She saved, like God knew what I needed. So they're a
Absolutely.
blessing.
Absolutely. Like I said, my oldest daughter, and I can say I can say both, just took an unconventional way to motherhood,
Mhm.
family, which is fine. And thank God, God was in my life back 4 years ago, and even now, to where it's like, wait, if you get all flustered and all these things, then it's chaos. Wait, you have to bring calm, peace, and we'll talk about decisions that we've made, because I'll never say it's a mistake. It's a decision that they make that there's consequences
Yeah.
to the decision. But is it a blessing? Yes. My granddaughter's going to be 4. I really believe things that were happening because, again, my oldest, their mom was passing. She had cancer, and so she was scared. She had gotten pregnant, and she was going to put the baby up for adoption, and didn't tell a soul. I tell people all the time, you want to keep a secret? Tell my daughter. Now you can tell either one.
Yeah.
But tell my daughter because she didn't tell a soul. She went hospital by herself during COVID, 21, and had the baby. And I think what happened after when she had the baby, it's like, she changed her mind. She said, I couldn't have an abortion, but I'm going to put her up for adoption because with everything that's going on, her mother was, again, passed a month after the baby was born.
Aw.
There was just a lot of stuff going on and just a lot of things with my daughter. And I said, God bless her soul. I wish she was shared because I think she knows now people would jump in and help. But at the time, it's scared. And she was listening to what? Maybe the enemy saying,
Yes.
no.
They're not going to love you. They're not going to accept you.
They're not going to accept you. You made mistakes. You can't do this. You can't be forgiven. And we know he forgives all.
Mm-hmm.
So when that happened, like I said, thank God that she called her godmother and she went. And then eventually I found out the next day and went over and like, just the baby. And my wife and I, Gina, that we had 5 miscarriages. This was beforehand.
Sorry.
We had 5
Very sorry
miscarriages
for
when we
that.
got married. And that's why we ended up adopting 2. And the whole story about that's like I didn't want to adopt. And anyways, so during COVID, but, when that happened, it's like, well, that's a blessing.
Mm-hmm.
And, right? And it's not. So I think God put that calm, that peace, self-control, that joy, that but yeah, it's
Kids today don't want to have kids.
no.
They're like against it. Like,
It's-
nope, not
it's-
having a kid.
I'm not having, and we see some people who are a little older that don't have, and they don't want. Wait, it's a little different. It's a
Yeah.
little different.
Well, it's more expensive. I feel like today it's scarier. I know a lot of kids are like,
Yeah.
when I moved out, I think my first apartment was like $600, right?
Yeah.
Like, how much when you moved out? Do you remember how much your first place was?
I mean, it wasn't what it is now.
Right.
Yeah,
No, it was just different back then.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
way
Right.
different.
It's
So
different.
today, I know a lot of kids are like, I can't afford it. I don't want the
And
responsibility.
then
I
we're
don't
in
want my-"
California,
Yes.
LA, it's a
Yeah.
little different.
Yeah,
But I think that I think with, and I can even say now, it's like, okay, how much of a good father was I? Because I have my daughters who again took a different route. I mentioned to my pastor, one of my pastors, when I kind of told him, I said, I feel like maybe my sins are passed down to them, right?
Trina just said that.
Yeah, we talked about that. But I also, like, isn't that why though? A lot of the reasons why you have made the changes that you're making now in your life is because you know that they will reflect on your kids,
If
and your
not,
grandkids.
and I say this all the time, if not for my 2 daughters, I don't think I would be here because when I split with their mom, and again, I'll always say my fault, they were 4 and 1 years old. And my ex-wife and I, we had been together since we were 16, got married at 24, split up at 32, and my girls, again, 4 and 1. And I was single, living, doing whatever I wanted, but when I had them, because we split them 50-50, when I had them, I had to come home. Sometimes I'd come home, because I live with my parents. I'd come home like straight from the club or wherever I was at, get them up. They wouldn't know I was out.
Yeah.
My mom would. She'd give me that eye, and I'd get them and but without them, I have to go home to my daughters. I have to go home to my daughter. Honestly. So without them,
That held you a little bit responsible.
oh, totally.
Yeah.
And so, So do I think that? Yeah. It's totally saved us, saved me, and then just
Mhm.
all the stuff that happened after that. Yeah.
We were just having breakfast last week and we talked about that.
Yep.
And she says that's scary, like, because we know what we've done and our kids don't know what we've done, right?
Right.
And we're like, oh my God, does that mean they're going to pay for our sins?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's scary.
And my pastor, and again, it's not our main pastor, Pastor Andrew, with he's over in the desert. He put it this way. He goes, no, you know what? What Jesus did for us, where he forgave our sins, he doesn't look back. They're forgiven. So understanding, that the enemy is putting those to make you feel bad or to make you, no, he's forgiven us. People make our own decisions because whatever my parents did, I made my own decisions, right? So it gave me just a different perspective of like, no, you're good. We don't know why this happened. I know why, looking back at my oldest granddaughter, to straighten out a lot of people, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
And because of her grandmother passing, and like without her, geez, like her parents, and it would not have been good without that. So
Gave you a purpose.
it gave us a purpose. And so I just think that now when he gave me that perspective, I'm like, okay, okay, because I kind of knew that, okay, don't put it on me. Don't get guilty.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he goes, like, no, he forgives us. We make our own decisions. But then what do we do from there?
Yeah.
What do we do when things happen?
Yeah.
And I think that's when we can really show light and salt and our grace and his grace by what happens, both good and bad. Because sometimes we do good, we get full of ourselves, and it's all him. And sometimes things happen bad, and we start blaming. What are we going to do when stuff like that happens? Are we going to? That's why, when people die, when people have unexpected births, how do we handle those things? And he says to handle them this way.
Yeah.
Which again, when we read our Bible, when we pray, when we rely on him and have faith that he'll take care of things.
When my grandpa passed, my grandma's husband now, my grandpa, my other two grandparents had already passed in Mexico, and it was really heartbreaking. But when he passed, I was devastated, right?
Yeah.
He died when I was in my 20s. However, he has taught us from day one, I'm going home.
Yeah.
And I was like, aren't you home? I'm going home. And when I go home, you better remember everything. He never went a day without saying that. If I would hug him, he was like, come here and give me a hug. It might be my last hug. And I'm like, my God, stop. He would say, so he died. Oh, wow. Today's his birthday. He died April 10th.
Okay. Oh, wow.
So happy birthday.
Yeah.
So he, it was Halloween, and we'd always take the kids over before we went trick-or-treating. Take a picture. It might be your last picture. And I was like, Papa, shut up. It was our last Halloween picture, our last Thanksgiving picture, our last Christmas picture. And then when I dropped him off at the airport to go to my aunt's for Easter in Colorado, and that's where he passed, he said, give me a hug. Might be my last hug. He always, and sure enough, it was the very last hug.
Right.
And it was a good hug. But he taught us that. So when he passed, as sad as I was like, he went home. Like he knew he was the most biblical man I've ever met, most biblical person I've ever met.
Yeah.
He prepared us for death. So I have, like, my grandma now, Trina and I talk about it, when she passes, a huge part of me is going to be relieved.
Right.
She's in a diaper. I hand feed her, like, Lord, she's ready, and I know she's going to go home to him and to Jesus and to her son that she had to bury.
Absolutely,
right?
Yeah.
So we were taught that, again, I'm not talking about if your 16-year-old child passes or your, 1-year-old child. I'm speaking a little bit older. Like, he taught us that death's going to come whether you like it or not.
Right.
You better just be prepared for it.
Right.
So for me, through Christ, like, I tell my kids now, hey, when I go home, Paul Walker's waiting for me.
Right.
Really, Mom? And I'm like, but I make a joke.
Stand in line. It's gonna be a long line of women.
She's the line leader.
I am. It's all right. I'm going to be right there in front. Jesus and I already talked about it. But I tell them, like, be prepared, because he comes like a thief in the night, right? And when we go home, we go home.
We don't know.
Yeah. So it comes whether we like it or not.
Right. I think you're right. And I think that's something that, and my wife knows, I tend to procrastinate when it comes to some things. I'm a little better, but that's something that he's still working on me. It's like, no, today might, if it is, or just prepare, just tell people you love them. And, my I know with my brothers, with my dad, and it's been a little bit. My mom passed, 14 years ago. It's going to be 15. It's been a while. And so I think at that point, and I think my brother will agree, we started just saying a little bit more to my dad, I love you, And
that's old school Mexican?
That's old school. Oh, my dad. And I think that he just, he appreciates that. So I just, we all have to be a little better when it comes to people who are older. But you're right. It can be at any time. But when someone's older, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, we appreciate more. Yeah. And I think with births and deaths, we tend to appreciate. So now with
it's a blessing for you to have two grandbabies now, and one's just 2 days old.
And now it's 2 days old.
Oh, that's fun.
And my oldest, her birthday's on the 14th. So literally almost 4 years apart to the day. Same situation. I'm like, I don't want to get too used to this. Not that way anyways.
Do you have any last questions?
I don't know do you think it's important to, as far as being involved in the political aspect in your industry, because you are involved in I feel like that they need Jesus the most down there.
Yeah.
That it's important for you to have your faith in order to have that structure within the political aspect.
Yeah.
Do you think it's important for you? Yes, because you're a godly man. But do you think it would help or it would benefit other people that want to be involved?
Absolutely. I think when you look, especially in the Old Testament, even the New Testament, but the Old Testament, when you see someone like Daniel or see someone like Nehemiah, when you see some people, others that were Joseph, the story of Joseph, where he was placed in authority, I think we have to have people who believe in God and believe what's right and in places of authority. So I don't want to get political.
Yeah.
Forget political. I want to
Right.
do what's right
Yeah.
and to be a leader of and show be by example. And I'll tell people right now, hey, if I mess up, give me a little grace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like when I say things, I believe in them. I believe that I'm again, like the story of Nehemiah, that he was put in a place to where even though he was just a cupbearer, like he would taste the king. He went from there to build a wall, to rebuild the wall and of his people. So, do I think that? And Roman and I, we've talked about some different stuff that we're being put in places of authority in our union.
Mhm.
Yes, because I love my union. First
Yeah.
generation longshoreman.
Loved and blessed with our union.
This, it's such a blessing to my family, to my wife, my kids, my grandkids,
Mhm.
both the insurance, the time, the money, everything, the location, right? We don't have to, I used to go to Van Nuys at my other job, but to have such a blessing and then not take care of it
Right.
and have just people it's tough. It's
Yeah.
tough to see. And I think that's one of the things, and some of our leadership, I've been in leadership for a while. And they know, it's even a joke when I say accountable. You got to hold people accountable. And they're like, "Well, there's one time he said it. There's two." They take, and it's funny. It's just really recently happened.
Yeah.
But my thing is that's okay. I'll take that type of,
Yeah.
kidding around because I think we do need to.
She's
be
pushing me more and more, and she's not. She's a casual, so she's not even fully in the union. And she's been pushing me to get more into Local 63. Her and somebody else, we don't want to say who, and they keep pushing me, and I'm like, well, I'm kind of scared. And he's like, just jump in the pool, and I'm like,
I feel like that's the perfect time for you to do it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you know people are backing you up and when
Yes.
you are scared because
Yeah.
you're not going to be afraid because you know who's in control and who's going to
Yes.
guide you
Yeah.
and cover you
Yes.
during that time. The people, if you're so big on the union and even though I'm just a casual, like being
I didn't mean just a
No, no, no,
casual.
no, no.
I'm so sorry.
No,
That's
no,
not
no.
our
It does
casual.
make a
But
big
let me
difference, though.
let me clarify this because our casual are our backbone. Without
Yes.
our casuals, those jobs need to be filled. So I
It's
didn't
all
mean
good.
like,
I don't take offense to just being a casual because I know who I am first, right?
Yes.
you're
It's
just a casual.
Yeah. No, I think it's just looking from the outside looking in, I just know that it's important to have people that are in where David's position is or where you are
Yeah.
or knowing your heart and knowing that you have a servant's heart and that you want to be righteous and do good by the people there.
Yeah.
That's why I say
Yeah.
get involved.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think just real quick that, when I got involved was when the MERS 6-7 years ago, never been involved, but I was up talking in front of people. It was scary. He gets us out of our comfort zone,
Yes.
especially to do right things. And then being the chairman of the steward, I was reelected again in the CIDs. So that's second tier. And I've said the same thing. It's like, you know what? We're all, even casuals, they're longshoremen. They're just at this level of our,
Let's clarify real quick before we shut down. A casual is, just for you too, Solomon, so you could kind of know, and the people that are listening that don't work down here is we go to a hall, we get our jobs, we pay our union dues every month. We're fully vetted into the union.
Yes.
Yeah.
When we don't cover those jobs because there's a lot of work and there's not enough of us, they go down to a different hall where these casuals don't pay union dues.
No.
They're not guaranteed work. They go and sit there day and night waiting
Nothing's
for a job.
guaranteed.
Yes. And so if they didn't cover those jobs wouldn't get covered and it could really affect our union.
Absolutely.
So thank God for our casuals that, like I said, they are like our backbone too.
Right. And again, the middle part of that is our ID or Class B,
Yes.
which are not fully, but they're probationary
Yes.
for a long
They
time.
still pay dues. They still,
do those
Yeah.
things, right? And they get the second tier of jobs, and there's
Yes.
guarantees, things like
Yeah.
that, which they're, again, more benefits than a casual. But I've said that over and over in my meetings. Like, listen, we're all at a different part of our journey in our longshore careers.
Yeah.
So don't treat them, because I know how maybe you were treated a certain way.
Yes.
Treat people better.
Yes.
That's all. And I
Yeah.
think as we go and continue, if we're better, but if we're better to the
Trina's
next
like, yeah.
generation, because trust me, it's, I remember times
Oh, yeah.
where you could,
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure.
but just try not to be that way.
Yeah.
Just be better.
Yeah,
And so,
for sure.
yeah.
Treat our casuals with respect and love.
That's right.
Because they are, sometimes it's their very first job and we've always had that moment of our first
And
job.
they are the future.
Yes,
Because
exactly.
as they go on and continue to work down there,
Yep.
they're going to eventually be where we're at.
Yep. Thank you guys so much. Solomon, thank you.
Absolutely.
Dave,
Thank you for having
like
me
I said,
on.
you will always be our angel here on earth. My family's indebted to you forever. Thank you for
I
coming
give him all the glory.
and spreading his word some more. Definitely, I'd love to do that. So thank you. And you'll be
Absolutely.
back. I'm try to have you and Roman back
There we
together.
go. That'd be good.
Yeah, it would be.
You should bring his wife. Thank you, Gina.
Oh. Gina, that was an invite?
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yes, because you guys would be good to speak on marriage today. So
Yeah.
thank you very
Yes.
much.
And thank you for having this, because this is a great, forum and
This is his platform. We're just using it.
Absolutely.
That's what I say.
Good.
So thank you so much. We all have Instagram. Trina and I have TikTok. Go onto YouTube, subscribe, like, share. Thank you guys very much. Until next time. Bye.
God bless you guys.
Bye.